like Dixon. I'm the Draw My Life prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping it's time to let go, to see justice before it all fades to black. Yeah, hiss your girl Cadillac. Anyways, I'm coming through today, January the 4th, 2024. And I'm coming to you after getting off my work shift, girl. I took a late lunch, and on my late lunch, I found this story. A man just yesterday, yes, released from his wrongful conviction. This is a bittersweet story. I'm going to read it to you. I don't like that it's putting that glare on my face, but it's the shine from the tablet. But I'm going to read it to you. It is bittersweet because I'm so overjoyed that this man gets to have his own freaking goddamn life back after it was stolen from him for no reason. But it's also sad that, they took so much of his freaking life. Okay, Jacksonville, Florida. The Innocence Project of Florida helped 79. You effed up half his goddamn life. 79-year-old Willie Williams overturned his wrongful conviction after spending 44 years in prison. Williams was convicted for the attempted murking and robbery of two people at a produce store in 1976. Based on eyewitness, y'all know my videos I did about eyewitness testimony being one of the leading causes in wrongful convictions. Based on eyewitness identification that involved law enforcement hypnotizing the witness. Testimony or fact procured via hypnosis has been per se inadmissible in Florida court since Florida Supreme Court ruling in 1985. And it's actually part of Ted Bundy's case. Brandon Scheck, legal director of the Innocence Project of Florida, said Williams' convictions were overturned by the state Wednesday because the hypnosis was not disclosed to the defense. Williams' freedom. That's older than me. I'm 42. So before my mother even got pregnant with me, this man has been incarcerated wrongfully. Williams' freedom is thanks in part to the Innocence Project of Florida, a nonprofit that has been helping the wrongfully convicted obtain their freedom and rebuild their lives since 2003. I've been reaching out to them since then too, and they no luck with them taking Marcello's case. We represent people across the state of Florida who are in prison for crimes they did not commit. Cases of actual innocence where people write to us and say, generally, hey, I was convicted for this, but I didn't do this. This is my story, Scheck said. Williams remembered his bus ride to prison after all these years. I would say to myself, well, you'll never be able to see Jacksonville, Florida again. But what I didn't know is that God had a better plan. Williams said, to give an idea of how much time has passed since Willie Williams was free. He was convicted in 1976. That's when my older sister, God rest her soul, was born. September 1976. When the minimum wage was $2.30 an hour. That was the same year Jimmy Carter was elected president, same year Rocky was released, and the same year NASA, unveiled its first space shuttle. Scheck said he reviewed hundreds of cases like Williams every day and encourages anyone who might be wrongfully convicted to speak up. Why? It's no point. Nobody freaking listens. God, I'm sorry for that outburst. I've been speaking up for 20 years and I'm freaking tired. And nobody hears me still. To speak up because the Innocence Project may be able to request additional DNA testing, consult with experts, or explore other investigative avenues to prove innocence. There's absolutely no formula to this. And of course, some people who actually are innocent in prison are never able to prove that. Thank you for admitting that. A great number. For this one story, there are a great multitude that are still in there and will serve their lives in there. There's absolutely no formula to this. And of course, some people who actually are innocent in prison are never able to prove that, unfortunately, in the court, Sheck said, because the court is not just. Requests for legal assistance from Innocence Project Florida must come directly from the prisoner by U.S. mail. Prisoners can send a written letter explaining their situation and why they believe themselves to be innocent and request a screening questionnaire that starts a vetting process that can last years, if not decades in some cases, of course. Okay, well, I feel really bad because they took this man's life, but let's listen to him. It was an emotional day for a Jacksonville man who spent nearly... Are you having trouble paying for healthcare, rent, gas, groceries, I know you're kidding me. Bills? They played ads on this too. 45 years in prison on a wrongful conviction. And I would say to myself, God, well, you'll never be able to see Jacksonville, Florida again. But what I didn't know, that God had a better plan.
79-year-old Willie Williams hugged his family today after the state attorney's office dropped the armed robbery and attempted murder charges against him.
News4Jax reporter Ariel Schiller spoke with Williams, who says he can finally put this injustice behind him.
Willie Williams' charges from nearly 50 years ago were officially dropped by the state attorney's office today. I spoke with Williams about how he plans to enjoy his life, now that he doesn't have to worry about those charges anymore.
I'm going to spend time with my wife, my friends, my family, and I tell my wife, we're just going to live a good life to the best of our ability until our days are called.
Williams was originally arrested for attempted murder and robbery of two people at a Jacksonville produce store in 1975. He was convicted in 1976 and spent 44 years in prison based on eyewitness identification. Brandon Sheck, legal director for the Innocence Project of Florida, says that law enforcement got that identification by hypnotizing the victim. But Williams and his counsel were never made aware of the hypnosis.
And it wasn't disclosed until the state attorney's office in the Fourth Circuit here recently, earlier this year, found out that information from their file, realized that had not been disclosed.
40 years later.
Realized the implication of that, disclosed it to Mr. Williams, and that is a violation,
so ridiculous,
a constitutional violation under Brady versus Maryland, where the state
and they knew they violated him from the beginning. They knew that. They knew that.
In 44 years, Williams saw friends either pass away or get killed in prison. He also served food to people on death row, including Ted Bundy. He wasn't sure he'd ever see Jacksonville again until he was released on parole in 2020. He says before his sentence was vacated, he would get nervous if he saw a law enforcement vehicle behind him while driving.
Any violation or any contact you have with the police department, the parole commission can violate you for it and send you back to prison from now on. And now I don't have to do that. I can look in the rearview mirror and don't have to worry about being jury, being pulled over, and maybe stop for a a traffic ticket or whatever.
Scheck says the state attorney's office reviewing this case shows that the truth and justice are still important, even when the initial
What?
conviction
Y'all
happened
don't care
almost
about.
50 years ago.
He will no longer be
Y'all
on
don't
parole
care none about the
supervision.
truth and
He will be able
justice.
to put this matter behind him, and his family can do the same. And
How can
he
you?
can live a productive, law-abiding
How?
life here in
He was
Jacksonville.
already living
We
a
reached out to the state
law-abiding
attorney's
life.
office for comment on those charges being dropped. They say they don't plan to refile charges because hypnotically refreshed memory is not admissible evidence of guilt. Reporting in Jacksonville, Ariel Schiller, Channel 4, the local station.
Now, what I'm asking, this pisses me off. I'm sorry, y'all. Usually I'm a lot more under control. I got my own issues that I'm going through because I myself am worn out fighting my husband's wrongful conviction. He has a 40-year wrongful conviction and he is 22 years in on. I spent the best part of my life fighting for my husband, thinking that one day justice would be served. One day he would come home. And still, I'm just an old woman that just wasted the last 2 decades of her life fighting for justice, right? And okay, so it pisses me off. I know the guy is from the Innocence Project and he's trying to help him, but what pisses me off is saying he can get back to being a law-abiding citizen and get back to his life. How do you get back to your life after 40, 40, not 10, not 20, 40 years? How the heck do you get back to life? What life do you get back to? He was a young man. He's an old man now. How he gonna get back to his life? You took his life. They stole his life. They stole it. That's like someone stealing your whole retirement fund and telling you get back to retirement. Or someone stealing your children and then telling you to get back to parenthood. Like after returning them after they're fully grown and old themselves. Like, I hate this situation. I truly hate it. I hate that people don't, because it's not much hope for this system. This system is effed up. And every year they're going into making more laws that's going to F it up even more. We're not going the right way. We're going the wrong way. They're trying to give more time. More. Like, would y'all just fix the freaking system? Just fix the system, please. You are freaking people's lives up. I hate this. They took that man's life. And it's not only him. For each story you hear, it is just like freaking roaches. If you see one roach, you know it's a multitude somewhere else. If you hear of one wrongful conviction overturned, baby, there's a multitude of wrongful convictions and them people still having to live their lives in prison. And all average people can say is, oh, well, they shouldn't have did what they did. They didn't do what you're saying that they did. That means you could fall into that category. And how are you going to feel when your life is just ripped from you? And there's nowhere to go. Innocence Project, they just said the vetting process can take decades. They don't just take cases like that. If the Innocence Project picks up your case, it is like you won the freaking lottery. I ain't even gonna go on. Hiss your girl Cadillac.